Welcome to the Success Builders podcast. If you're an entrepreneur seeking motivation, inspiration, and real-world strategies to grow your business, you're in the right place. Here we believe success isn't a destination, it's a journey filled with golden nuggets of wisdom shared from one business owner to another. I'm Liz Nanel, a real estate agent, mentor, entrepreneur, and your host on this exciting path. In every episode, I'll bring you valuable insights from entrepreneurs who's been in the trenches, built their dreams, and are ready to share their secrets with you. Whether you're just starting out or looking to take your business to new heights, this is your space to learn, grow, and connect. Let's dive in and build success together. Good day to all of the Success Builders listeners. Today we're here with Ahmed Moosa, an experienced, gentle soul who is going to share a little bit more about his journey within real estate. So Ahmed, if you can tell us how you got into real estate, we would really appreciate to hear your insights.
Well, going back 25 years or much more than that, I spent 20 years in banking. 10 years with First National Bank and 10 years with Al Baraka Bank. And at the time I reached sort of 1999, I was sort of getting tired of the corporate world, burnout, working 14, 15 hours a day for somebody else when you can do it for yourself. And it was at that point I decided I needed a change. And my family did have some background in terms of dealing in property. So that was one of the ideas that I had to get into. So in the year 2000, I joined the industry. I joined a very small company called Realtor. Spent about a year there with them. But in that year, I felt I was not generating the income that I needed. Because coming from the corporate world and now suddenly you just do 2 or 3 sales for the year and your income is like way below what you was earning, then made me realize that, hang on, there's more to real estate than just with a small company. And that's when I decided to look out and went for a few interviews to the bigger companies and ended up with Remax. When I looked at all the companies, Remax suited me fine because the business model that they offered related to what I wanted to do. I wanted to be my own boss, do my own thing in my own time. I didn't want to be dictated what to do. Obviously, I needed to go to training and so on. But at the same time, I wanted to be able to make my own decisions moving forward. And then I think it was November 2001, roundabout, I decided to make the jump. And I moved to Remax, and I've been there ever since, with a slight break in between.
Wow, Ahmed, so 24 years in the industry, that's a lot of homes and a lot of families and a lot of investors. And with that, obviously, comes a lot of experience. And I love that we've got a similar background. We went from corporate into the real estate industry. And I think that's something that warms your heart because you know that there's a lot of lessons to be learned in the corporate world. But if you take that and you take it on a personal level, what would you say would be the 2 things that you've learned from the corporate world that you were able to take into the real estate industry?
Well, I'm glad you asked that because in the first year, I was still finding my way through the industry. And at that time, there was no mentors or no trainers. You just jumped in there and they said, here's a telephone and here's do this and do that and that sort of thing. And at the end of the year, when I couldn't see any success my way, I thought to myself, hang on, what wrong am I doing? But there was nobody out there to guide me, to tell me that. There's no mentor at that time to tell me that. I then sat down one evening and I just took myself back to the corporate world. What is it that we did in the corporate world? Business planning, annual planning, quarterly planning, daily planning, systems and procedures is what we use there. And I thought to myself, hang on, if I use that here, what I learned there and bring it here for myself and do it for myself, but as a corporate thing, I'm sure I'll be able to see success from there. And that's what I started to do. I started in my early years of my career is do an annual plan. Every single year without fail, come November, December, there's a plan in place for the coming year. So that was the first thing that I learned from the corporate world. And secondly is business relationships. Human relationships, develop relationships with everybody that I come across. So whether it's that your COC guy, or whether it's a new attorney in my books, or whether it's whoever it is, not only buyers and sellers, even the Tyler. So I develop relationships with these kind of people. And as a result of that, people got to know me better. And nowadays, my listings come in via referrals. I hardly advertise. So two things. One is business planning, and second thing is human relationships.
I absolutely love that. I feel, Ahmed, like your story kind of speaks to the value on the inside. Sometimes when we start something new in life, we look to the outside to get mentorship and to get impact. But if you sometimes look, especially in real estate, at the knowledge that you've gained so far and the lessons that you've learned through life, all of that together makes for a really good and seasoned real estate agent, because it does tie in with relationships and with planning. I love that quote that says, failing to plan is planning to fail.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Fully agree on that one.
That's such a beautiful story, though, how you incorporated the things and the lessons you've already learned to say, how can I take that and implement it into what I'm doing today? I think that might be some secret sauce or a secret recipe for real estate agents that are new and starting out there, that ask themselves, what do I do with all of this newfound freedom? Because sometimes I see that with real estate agents, they forget everything that they learned in a normal, traditional office or corporate environment, that all of those lessons could also be very, very good if you take them into real estate. And coming into the real estate industry now from the corporate world, I mean, you've got 24 years on from that. What would be the most valuable? I know you said relationships, but what would be another valuable skill be that you think on a daily basis is necessary for a real estate agent to have?
Oh, discipline and consistency.
I love that.
If you don't have discipline in this industry, you won't fail, but you won't perform as you would like to. And consistency, you got to do it on a daily basis. You got to do it every single day. It doesn't change. To use analogy, if I got a rock here and the water is, and a drip of water or water drops onto it, drop at a time, what will happen to the rock? A hole will form after a few years or after a few months. So consistently, the drop is coming through. Consistently, I got to get up every morning. Consistently, I got to make that call. You just got to be disciplined and consistent.
I absolutely love that. I had an earlier conversation with another real estate agent, and he said to me that he finds it so funny as the end of the year draws closer. There's a lot of real estate agents that are jumping to a wake, and there's some actions that's never been performed. And I said to him, the interesting thing for me is in winter, the big season time from September to December is actually built. It's those people that are consistent throughout the winter, when it's a little bit more difficult and a little bit more quiet in the industry, the actions that you perform, the reaction will be seen from September onwards. So that's an on-point message.
Very true. Absolutely true.
And tell, as a specialist in your area now, Ahmed, what do you see as the highlights in your area? Tell us a little bit more about your area that you work in, speaking to the market, to buyers, to sellers. What is some interesting information that you can share for us?
Well, before I get there, let me just go back to the earlier conversation in terms of where I had started and what that led to. So in 2007, when we had the global meltdown, the economical global meltdown between 2007 and 2009, because I read the market often and I need to know what the market is doing in terms of interest rates and economic situations and so on, because that guides the property industry in terms of being a buyer's market and a seller's market. So in 2007, when we started to have the global meltdown, I started to focus into commercial. So between 2007 and 2013, I switched from residential to commercial. Achieved some success there, not too much, but I was still missing that residential clientele. So 2013, I came back to residential. And from 2013 up to now, I'm still in residential. But in 2020, 2017, I think, around about 2017, you can see I'm not a very young man anymore. So obviously, now this is where your planning comes in again. You're planning for the future now. What is it you want for the future? So around about 2017, I realized that I can't be doing this as I get much older. I'm talking about sales. I need to take a bit of a backseat, but I want to stay in the industry. And as a result of that, I moved into training. So I started mentoring new agents that come into the industry. I used my business model. I developed a candidate training program over 3 sessions for new candidates coming to the industry. I now do full-time training, sorry, not full-time, but a lot of training for Remax, for the offices that I work with. We've got 5 branches. So I do all the training for them, but still do sales. And then I added to that, I formed my own team. So it gives me time to do my training while I'm guiding my team, and whilst they are continuing with sales, and I still do sales with them. So just to continue on my background, in terms of your question, in terms of the area that I work in, a lot of the agents that come into the industry think they can sell here, there, and everywhere. It's like a bird flying from tree to tree and not sure exactly what it wants. So when agents do that, I sort of cringe a bit, because you need to be a master in what you do. You need to be an expert in what you do. You need people to recognize who you are, where you stay. That's the basis of the success in this industry. So I've been focused just in my farming area only. I work in the central Durban, Musgrave, Easternwood, Morningside, and the Glenwood area. So if people are aware of these areas, you'll find that it's not a very big area. So I focused only on that. I didn't go beyond that. If I got a listing outside my area, I always referred it to another agent. Whether it's a Remax agent or another office agency, whoever, I referred it to them. I'd rather have 50% of the com than having 100% of the com, simply because of the fact that I won't do justice to that seller. So complete focus in this area here, and that's where my success came from. And just to share further, is in terms of people recognizing me. I'm a long distance runner. I run every single day. My day starts with a 10-kilometer run. That's my day. And you'll find a local old lady walking her dog, or another runner that's running, and they go like, "Hey, I know you from somewhere." And then I mention Remax. "Oh yeah, that's where we know you from." But the flip side of the coin also works, because when I go see new clients, and then they would say, "You look familiar." And they, I would say, "You probably saw me running on the road with my cap backwards." And they, "Oh yeah, that's you. So you're the Remax agent." You know, the feeling that gives you, listener, is that people recognize you. And when they recognize you, that's when you capitalize on it. That's when you give out your business card, and that's when you take the telephone number down. Because remember, at that point in time, they won't hesitate to give you personal information, because they are developing a relationship with you. And you would then ask for your email address and telephone number. Normally, they won't just give it to you. And at that point, when you ask, they will give it to you, save it, and put it into your database. And as a result of that, you would build up a huge database. I think my telephone has got more than 10,000 contacts in it. Okay, not all of them are buyers and sellers, but over 10,000 over the last 20 years is a lot of contacts to have there. And let's just divide that by 2. I've probably got about 5,000 buyers and sellers on my phone.
I love it. You're a true entrepreneur. And I think how you explain everything and your passion that you've got for people, because it's not just about the buying and the selling, but also giving back to the industry for younger real estate agents or people aspiring to get to the level where you are. And I always believe that the wheel turns, and the more that we give, the more we will receive, and not just financially, but also joy of life and growing as a person. It's something that I'm super passionate about, because I believe our souls are here to grow, and the more that we can network with one another and the more we can support one another, we're on the right direction.
No, absolutely. I fully agree on that. Yes.
And I love what you say about your running and getting to be known in your area. I think that's so important. People don't realize the importance and the power of that. I heard something last week at a real estate conference in Miami, and the guy said, the best known will beat the best. And for you to become the best known in your area, it doesn't mean whatever anyone else comes up with, because you are that well known, people will be drawn to you. They will relate to you, and there will be a trust relationship that they've got with you because you've been a consistent figure in the community.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Something else comes to mind, if you don't mind me sharing this.
Go for it.
In 2004, my wife and I were off overseas, and we were kind of late from Durban to Johannesburg, and we boarded the main flight in Joburg, and we were the last two or three to jump into the flight. And from the front, and our seat was at the back, so we entered from the front. And as walking down the aisle, a lady bumps her husband and says, "Isn't that the Remax agent?" And I said, "Yes, ma'am, that's me." I was like, wow. Yeah, in that trip, this trip was to Saudi Arabia. And in this trip, I met probably about 6 or 7 people that recognized me. I came back from there with 4 listings.
Wow.
In other words, people that met me there overseas, we started talking property, and they said, "Please give us a call when you get back because we got this to sell and we got this to sell." And I was like, wow. And just 2 years ago, we were in Turkey. Same thing happened again.
That's
and the guy recognized
incredible.
me, and he said, "Ahmed, are you with Remax?" I said, "Yeah, that's me. And listen, when you get back, please give me a call." So when people recognize you, that's when you get your listing. It makes it a
Definitely.
lot easier. Absolutely, it makes it a
Definitely. And
lot
I
easier.
also love your heart. I think that shines through. I'm also at heart someone for residential, even though I've been in the corporate runnings for a long time. I think there's something about assisting a residential family in which phase of their life they find themselves, whether they're upscaling for new family members arriving or downscaling because they've lost family or going through something financially. I think stepping into that household and becoming such an intricate part of that process and that life journey that they go through, that's something that I get personally a lot of joy out of. And I can tell that you also do, because that's why you are
Same here.
pouring into mentoring and why you miss the residential part of it.
Yes, no, same here. My greater joy comes from the first-time buyer. To see their face on the day of the transfer and handing over keys, the joy that comes out of it, or the joy when they signed the agreement and the bond went through and they got the mortgage. So the joy of that gives me a lot of satisfaction. And the other one that gives me satisfaction is especially a widow who's probably lost a husband and she's probably alone and children are elsewhere. And then she's looking for someone to assist her to sell her property. And that's when I give more I just give more out of my heart. And to see the satisfaction of the lady or the man, if he's a widower, to see the satisfaction out of the elderly gives me that much more greater joy, really. I had one recently, very recently, in fact, just carrying on now, where the widower called me and he said, "I need you to do me a valuation of my property because I may have to sell. I may have to go into an old age home because my kids are not here, they're overseas, and I'm the only one that's left." But lo and behold, about three weeks later, I get a message from his son in Australia to say, "Can I chat?" And I said, "Yes, go ahead." And he gave me a call and he said, "Dad passed away." And I was like, wow. But I was there a few weeks ago to do a valuation. He said, "Yes, he didn't make it. And, he passed away." And he said, "Can you please take over?" I went backwards for this gentleman out in Australia. He's given me a sole mandate and he said, "I'm not talking to anybody else except you. Please sort this out for me." So that's what you get back when you give.
I
That's what
love
comes
that,
back.
Ahmed. That is such a beautiful, it's a beautiful
Yes.
story. And don't you feel fortunate to be in the position where we are, that we can really assist people sometimes when they're in the hardest circumstances and hardest time of their life?
Yes, definitely. The other place to give back, and this is for generally speaking for other agents, is for distressed sellers. I've been there before. I know what it is. We bought our first property in the early 90s, and when interest rate was about 14%, and then shot up to 26%. I don't know if you remember that. By 1999, we were paying 26% interest on our bond. It really knocked the wind out of us. So I've been there already, and I know what happened. So I bring that into this industry, is that those people that are financially distressed, is treat them with utmost care. Treat them as if they're a baby, because mentally they are so stressed because they've got a family to take care of and they've got to sort out their roof over their head. What I do in a case like that, I always suggest to them, don't hang on to the property, sell and move, go and rent for a while. That's the best thing that you can do. I did that, is that I sold and I went and rented for a while, just to get out of that situation of that of the high interest rate. It'll give the agents great satisfaction to do that. Really.
To be able to support people like that. And I think that's such great advice, because at the end of the day, your emotional well-being is so much more important than a building that you own or brick and mortar. It's about being there for your family and taking a couple of steps back so that you can find your foundation again. I actually purchased my first property when it was in those high interest rates. So for me, it just came down and it felt better, because what you can afford then, and as it comes down, it changes the picture. So two ways to the scale. But Ahmed, I've got one more thing to ask you, and that is, where can people get hold of you if they are in those areas in Durban that you just mentioned? How do they reach out to you?
Can I give my numbers?
Of course, go for it.
Yeah. I'm at Remax address, Morningside or Berea branch. We have 5 branches, one in Berea, one in Sanga, Hillcrest and Kloof. But my telephone number is 082 404 3167. 082-404-3167. Or otherwise, go to the Remax address website. You'll find me there. My email address is there. And those people that even don't want to sell or buy, but just want some advice related to property, my telephone lines are open. You're more than welcome to call me at no cost. So I'll share and help them along with the problems in terms of finding solutions to their problems and helping them through it. So yeah, I'm always available.
I love that, Ahmed. I can see your heart is in the right place. We will take all of your information and we'll also post it onto this episode. So just at the bottom of the episode, your email address and contact number would be available so that anyone in your area can reach out to you. I'm looking forward to doing business with you in the future. Me being in Cape Town, you being in Durban, we can always refer to one another and stay in contact and motivate one another. One last quick question before we sign out, and that is, if you were a little ball of something, what would it be?
A little ball of something.
A little ball of something. So it could be a little ball of candy, a little ball of meat, a little ball of love, a little ball of hugs, a little ball of knowledge.
Well, being a real estate agent who's in training, who's a trainer, I would think a little ball of knowledge.
I love that, and I can tell. I love it.
I just love to share the things that I have done over the years, the success I've achieved over the years. So for me, it'll be a ball of knowledge. Can't think of anything else. Well, love comes with it, right?
Love comes with it. I can tell you've got the kindest heart, Ahmed. So for those of our Success Builder followers, if you are anywhere near Durban or you've got family or friends in Durban, please get them to make contact with Ahmed. Whether they want to buy that first property, you can hear his heart is into those first property buyers, or whether it's someone needing to move to a retirement village, upscale or downscale, please make contact with Ahmed, and I'm sure that he's going to take care of your family and friends as he would do for his own.
Would love to do that.
Give it a wave, Ahmed.
Absolutely.
And you don't have to stop it as yet, but just give it a wave.
Thank you for tuning in to the Success Builders podcast. I hope you're leaving with fresh insights and a renewed spark of inspiration to take your business to the next level. Remember, success is built one step at a time, and we're here to walk that journey with you. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with a fellow entrepreneur who could use some motivation. And if you want to dive deeper or connect with me personally, I'd love to hear from you. Reach out on LinkedIn, Instagram, or visit liznanel.com to get in touch. Until next time, keep building, keep growing, and keep chasing that success.